The following program is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central Valley. I am your host, Craig Barton, and welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week here on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to this crazy world that we live in and helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice. And that's exactly what you're going to hear every Sunday morning here at 7 a.m. right here on 105.9 The FM KMJ. Thanks for joining us. What are you looking at me for?
I'm like, did he have too much coaching, or does he have a sniffle? Because you don't sound yourself.
It's not totally myself.
You sound a little hoarse.
I am.
I know.
You should have heard me
Was
at
it too
practice
much?
last.
It was coaching.
Yeah,
okay,
it was-
I'm
yeah,
trying to
yes.
decipher. Is it a cold?
Yeah,
Are
is
you
it-
the weather
no.
kicking you, or is it? It's
No, I'm
coaching.
feeling good. Feeling
Okay.
good.
All right.
Yeah, can't complain. As
Oh, you
always,
sound bad, but you feel
Yeah,
good.
I sound
you
bad.
feel
Thank you.
great. That's awesome.
I feel good, sound bad.
I'm teasing you.
And I have a face for radio. That's
right.
even better.
That's our mantra. That's right.
Right on. As always, it's so good to have our special guest host, Michelle Pettis-Cavalli, in the studio. Michelle is a licensed realtor and a trusted local professional.
Please stop saying
Friend.
that. How about
Trusted.
I'm your trusted friend, if nothing else. Wow. This is the week 3, Johnny. He's been pulling this.
You know what? It's just something I have to do. It really, it's
But
like
now
a big,
it's like a big joke.
yeah.
Thanks
Trusted
for
local
that.
professional friend. As always, it's so good to
Thanks.
have you here. Thanks for getting up so early on this Sunday morning.
Yeah, keep it up. I may not
Keep
be here
it up.
next week.
Oh,
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
wow.
All right. You're
One-
so welcome. I'm happy to be here.
One
Actually.
fell swoop.
I've got some exciting stuff that we're going to talk about.
You
today.
better believe it. Well, you know what, Michelle? The beauty of real estate radio is that it gives us the opportunity to reach so many people efficiently each and every week for one full hour. Now, our goal is to get you the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you
back home.
fill in the blanks. Gotta love it. Well, Michelle and I are so extremely excited about today's show. We're going to sit down with Larry Fortune, candidate for Fresno County Supervisor District 2, to talk about some of the huge issues facing Fresno County and some of the practical solutions that he would propose if elected to serve. You are not going to want to miss this in-depth conversation. Make sure you stay tuned with us. Well, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that you hear on our show, call us anytime. Michelle would love to hear from you. I would too.
You know, my phone has not stopped ringing today.
Off the hook.
Yeah, it's been off the hook. It's awesome.
That's a good deal. Well, call us anytime at 800-979-3958. You can also check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com or use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valley-wide.
to get connected to us anytime. We'd love to hear from you. Well, Michelle, we had a conversation this morning before we came into the studio about press 4.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
We need to roll this out, slow this down, break it down.
Well, I did that last week. I think I think you clarified a lot of things for me, and now I'm thinking of all the opportunities, because this is where I'm sick and wrong. I have all of these, like,
Sick and
that's
wrong.
what ADD will do to you. I go off into these tangents on, okay, we need every business owner who has an idea of how that can benefit them to call me.
I love that.
Because I want to hook them up with Press 4 so that they can send that information to their clients, or those coupons to their clients, as the client is desiring them.
So talking about Press 4 to any business owner out there, if you've got information that you want to push to your clients, or just simple, hey, just call me.
Yeah.
Utilize Press 4. That's PRESS, the number 4.com. Contact us.
It's a great app.
We can help show you how really this is one button you'll need for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great marketing tool, and I'm just loving it. And I love now understanding it a little bit better after last week's explanation. And I think those folks who sign on are going to really enjoy having the option to send that information to clients as clients desire.
Press 4 really is for all those times you're away from your computer.
Absolutely.
It really is. It really is. Just go to the Press 4 website at press4.com. Follow the easy setup instructions or go to the App Store, whether you've got an iPhone, Android phone.
You go to your computer if you have a dumb phone.
Yeah.
And they can hook you up that way. But, and if you have no clue what we're talking about, because this is the first time you've listened in, call me.
Call Michelle.
Call me and I'll explain. Okay.
800-979-3958.
That's right.
And we'll put you in contact with Michelle to show you how you can utilize Press 4 to get really the message out. We're going to show Larry as well today.
I know.
How to get the message out about your campaign. Well, today's hot property. Let's take a look at the hot property. 1-4, this address, excuse me, let's back up here. I'm a little over anxious to get to Larry.
I'm sorry, I got you. Your hoarseness, I got you all twittipated.
There you go. 14898 Brook Hill Drive in Madera, California, 93638. This particular property is located in Madera Ranchos. 5-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,379 square feet on just shy of 2 acres. The appraised value of this particular property is $164, and that was appraised with an FHA appraisal roughly about 30 days ago. This particular property the bid deadline is daily.
Right.
Can you imagine 2,400 square feet? This property actually sold.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up a little bit here. This property actually sold for $365 back 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. It's a really, really cool property. And just so everyone knows, Tuesday I'm going to be there from 4 to 7 if they want to come check it out, if it's still up for bidding, if it hasn't been sold yet. Yeah, I'm going to open it. And the reason for that is because it's actually 203K eligible. And there's a lot of folks who have those questions. And so we're going to make ourselves available from 4 to 7 at that property, which is a 203 eligible property. Okay. So they can...
so talk real quickly about 203K financing, okay. You being our 203K resident expert.
Hey, I just have great partners. I really do. I have great alliance partners out there who are helping my clients with 203Ks. We've got inspectors, pest inspectors, contractors, everybody lined up to assist a client. If they're not sure what to do in a 203K situation, it really is just an escrow account that's created and included within your mortgage cost for repairs. And you get the same financing as FHA finance. So if you get 4% on a regular FHA loan, you're 4% on a 203K generally, or maybe 4 1/8. Like, it's not an extreme difference, unlike a typical construction loan or equity line of credit or things we've seen in the past. This is the same thing, only it has the funds are allocated specific to the repairs you want to complete, and then there's an inspection done after you finish the repairs, and it all rolls into the same mortgage. It's not not a bad deal.
So in this particular instance, if you really want to put the finishing touches on this particular property, and as long as the repairs actually attribute to the as-improved value of the property, you could finance those repairs into your new loan.
Correct. There are some that are going to be required from the lending, and then there are those that are just things that help with the value. So, for instance, let's be honest, if you're purchasing a resale property, in most cases, clients want to go in and put new carpet and new paint. That can be rolled into their financing. They don't have to figure out how to pay for that later or finance it through the carpet place or whatever. They can do that in this loan.
So you definitely don't have to drain your savings account every single of every last red cent.
Exactly. And, additionally, these particular mortgage types are really going to help us to help rebuild our neighborhoods.
Oh, certainly.
And so those folks who go, gosh, that's a great house, but it needs a roof, it needs this. You know what? It's a great option, and you get to put in exactly what you want as you want it. Nobody cares what color carpet you put in or paint. The lender just wants to know you're taking care of that property and rebuilding it. And let me tell you, it's a great way to rebuild our neighborhoods here in the Valley.
And, interesting side note, a little storytelling here real quick. This particular property had a phone call from a client this week. The client said, our agent told us that this property would not go FHA.
Evidently their agent doesn't know 203K is
FHA. I tried to be real politically correct and say, okay, here's the deal. Let me help. Let me help. Let's talk with your agent. Let's sit down and talk with you and your husband. And let's make sure that we get all the right answers for you, because this particular property most definitely will qualify for FHA financing, as well as FHA 203K financing.
Correct.
So
either one.
If in the event that you, as you mentioned, if you want to paint the exterior, if you want to paint the interior, new floor coverings, new roof, as long as it does help as far as the as-improved value, once
it's complete.
You're good.
Yeah, so Tuesday, 4 to 7, if that property is still on the market in Madera, I will be there hanging out. If you want to set an appointment, give us a call. But otherwise, we look forward to moving that one.
Fantastic. Well, if you'd like any more information about today's hot property, give us a call anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958. Or use Press 4 keyword
KMJ hot property,
because it's a hot property.
It is a hot property.
Exactly. And we'll send more information.
It's almost 2 acres. Yeah. I mean, sorry to.
Golly geez. And we'll send more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Well, as I mentioned, we have special guest a very special guest, Larry Fortune from Fortune & Associates. Also, just so happens, Larry, you're running for county supervisor.
Yes, I am.
District 2.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, Larry is here to help talk about some of the issues facing Fresno County and some of the practical solutions he would propose if elected to serve. You're not, I'm telling you, you are not going to want to miss this conversation. You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on 105.9, the FM KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valley White help. Valley White Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free 800-979-3958 and put the seasoned professionals at Valley White Homes to work for you. Valley White Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952, California Department of Real Estate License 0122-8460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, as we mentioned before the break, we've got Larry Fortune here.
I was just teaching Larry.
Were you?
Press 4. Because, we had to hurry because the break
Because the break's only so long, right?
That's right. Exactly.
We've got Larry Fortune, candidate for Fresno County Supervisor, District 2. Larry,
Yes,
County
sir.
of Fresno needs some help, and you're the man for the job.
I think so. I think on both counts. Fresno is not in bad shape, but they need to change direction for the future. Post-haste. They have financial problems, as do all municipalities and counties in the county in the state of California, as does the state of California. But the changes, the directions have to be changed, and the sooner we make it, of course, in anything that's going wrong, the sooner you change the direction and change the ship going the other way, the quicker it's going to get solved.
Certainly.
And that's what I want to bring to the table.
Certainly.
Hey, before we go there,
Yeah.
we had such an interesting, sit-down meeting with you before this, before we got you on air, about your background.
Yeah.
About growing up here. And could you share a little? Because I want
to say first real quick is, Larry, I don't understand how you've done everything that you've done. Are you like 130
Here, let
or
me start
something years
listing
old?
it.
All right.
Better Business Bureau, Big Fresno Fair, Boy Scouts of America, California Association of Realtors, California Partnership for the San Joaquin Valley, California Workforce Investment Board.
Does your wife ever see
Central
you?
California Blood Center, Center for Advanced Research and Technology, City of Fresno, Community Housing Leadership Board, Comprehensive Youth Services of Fresno, County of Fresno, Economic Development Corporation, Fig Garden Police Protection District, Fresno Association of Realtors, Fresno Athletic Wall of Fame, Fresno Business Council, Fresno City College, Fresno County Farm Bureau. Do I need to keep going?
You're about...
I'm
need to
not
take a
even
breath?
halfway,
You did the
I
first
don't
page,
think.
and we got about 5 more pages to go.
I'm not even close to being done, and
Michelle,
I'm just so amazed.
the only thing I'd like to add is that it's fun to read them, but you got to keep in mind, those are all boards of directors.
And those are all...
Those aren't memberships.
No,
Those are-
no, I
and most of them I was
understand.
chairman of them one time or other. No, my great-great-grandfather came to California with a nephew and 2 friends in 1850 and
Okay.
returned to Missouri in 1852. My great-grandfather came to Missouri to California in about 1867, 68, right after the war, and then eventually settled his family in Fresno in 1886.
That's a lot of history.
Yeah, and has been a cattle rancher in the eastern foothills. The families have been for years. His name was Weldon, Abraham James Weldon. My father's father came from Edinburgh, was brought over here by Theodore Kearney, and eventually ended up running Kearney Farms.
Wow.
So I've been here for a long
Long
time. And I don't know, I've always felt that if you're going to belong to something, you shouldn't just belong. You got to get involved.
Sure.
And there's so starting in college, I got involved with committees of the administration and with the fraternity house I was in, and I've just always gotten involved. And I try and make things better for whatever we're getting involved in.
Well, but what I think it told us after speaking with you and looking at that was, wow, how well-rounded are you as far as your knowledge of this area and what's going on? Because I know I don't have that kind of knowledge, and I love to hear it, and the history of it as well. Additionally, though, the hours and the time that you have spent already in trying to better the area and better the community and keep things going in the right direction.
You had a saying, Larry. There was something that you had said that was pretty poignant. It was all the years of involvement that led up to, and I'm going to butcher this, but all the years of involvement that led up to this point.
Well, it goes, a lot of things came together at one time. I have done a lot, you're right. And I'm 64 years old. My kids are both grown and gone, and we can get back to that later. My house is paid for, which that's the proudest thing I am. I've actually paid 3 months ago. I paid for my house. It's time to step up to the big leagues, if you will.
Gotcha.
If I want to do much more for Fresno County, then I want to be on the County Board of Supervisors, so I can bring that expertise, that history, that experience, and all those years of belonging to these various organizations and learning about them and learning what they're doing to the Board of Supervisors and try and help the Fresno County as a whole.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
The biggest thing I say is I don't need the job.
Right.
You've got plenty on your plate.
Yeah, because I don't need the job, I can do what's right for Fresno County and not have to worry about Larry Fortune.
Right. And I don't know, for listeners, I actually got to go and listen to Larry and his opponents the other day. I was invited to come and sit in on a luncheon, and it was quite interesting because I sat and listened, and I'm sure they're all very nice people, but the knowledge that he shares in speaking, it was just far beyond a lot of other people in the room, and they had supervisorial candidates and congressional candidates. Senate. No, congressional.
They're running for the Republican nomination for
it was quite interesting
for Congress.
But those folks that were there have very little knowledge, really, in comparison as far as that well-rounded.
I was the oldest in the room now.
Well, okay, Larry, I wasn't going to say that. No,
Larry,
but my point being,
more experience.
but
Okay,
my point being, though, involved in civic organizations for a lifetime. That's what I would describe it as. Yeah.
Well, the importance of being a business owner, you had touched on that, and go into depth in that as far as your feelings in terms of having that experience and how important it is being a business owner and what that brings to the table as far as running a business. Because unfortunately, too many times, I think when we as the public look at government in a lot of different ways, it feels like it's not run like a business. And especially if you have a business background, it seems so foreign.
Well, there are certainly some departments of government that can't be run like a business, but I think many of the departments, the Fresno County of Fresno, would relish and with a business plan applied to them and a business outlook applied to them. One thing about running, we talk about one of the great concerns of the citizens of Fresno County is jobs. There's the lack of jobs. One thing I can say about having been in business for 37, actually owned real estate business for 37 years, but in business for 40 years, is that I've signed the front of a lot of paychecks in my life. Nobody else in this race has ever signed the front of a paycheck. They've signed the back of paychecks.
Sure.
And you've owned businesses. You know what it's like to lay in bed at night knowing you've paid somebody that day and hoping you can scrounge up the money the next day to get to the bank in time to cover the check.
Sure, sure.
It's the epitome of not spending what you've got and knowing what's going on. Too often I think people don't think about what they're spending in government when they decide that, this is a good program, we should fund it. Well, shucks. A little sidebar. I'm against high-speed rail because for the simple fact that I do not think the state of California can afford it, period. In fact, there's been just recently, last week, a think tank in Palo Alto came out with a conclusion that it's going to cost upwards of $1 billion a year to subsidize it forever, that it will never make money. And I'm thinking right now, we just can't afford that.
Right.
There's a whole lot of other things we can be doing. That we could be paying for education. We could be paying for crime and how, not letting our prisoners go out of the jail. But there's such a warm and fuzzy thing about high-speed rail that people think we should do it without ever stopping to think who's going to pay for it and how it's going to pay for it.
Because it's so much easier to talk about a real shiny,
pretty new thing.
thing.
It's got bling.
They've got those pictures on the websites. It's just this gorgeous train. I mean, everybody want to ride it. And I'm sure we'll all ride it once. If they
just
ever
for the experience.
Yeah,
Kind of like riding the BART in Frisco.
Yeah.
Same type of thing.
If you don't live there and don't have to.
Yeah,
just so you can say you did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, you had mentioned when you were talking about high-speed rail, we were going to talk about it a little bit later, but let's dig it up right now. You had mentioned that, and correct me, statistically or from a red ink or black ink, there's only one profitable line in the world.
No, there were several. In Japan, Spain, and France all had profitable lines. The Tokyo to Osaka line was profitable. Gotcha. Politicians got a hold of it and made them bring spar lines out to their little they call them prefectures in Japan, so that their towns could be served with a line. And as a result, the system is a total failure. In fact, 3 or 4 years ago, the Japanese government sold the entire high-speed rail system for 1 yen, whatever that is, and
$1
to private industry, with the proviso that private industry could pair all those little sidelines and try and make the main line profitable again. Okay. Spain did the same thing. They built a line from Madrid to Sevilla, and it was profitable. Then they built a line from Madrid to Barcelona. Then they built a bunch of little, side rails and killed the entire system. Now even Madrid to Barcelona is losing tremendous amount of money, and only the single line, not the system, from Madrid to Sevilla makes money. And then the same story in France, where it was Paris to Lyon. And then they want other towns and as soon as they build a system up, it's losing money. None of those systems make money. Only the single lines make money. California, we were smarter than that. We let the politicians get a hold of the line before we ever built it. So as a result, I love Fresno, but quite frankly, if you were going to have a high-speed rail line in the state of California that was to make money from an operation standpoint, it would be a 4-stop line. It would start in Sacramento. It would stop somewhere in the Bay Area. The next, it would go down the 101 corridor near the coast. Next stop would be Los Angeles.
Right.
And the last stop would be San Diego. 4 stops. That line could make money.
Right.
But I don't know if anybody knows. You look at the map in the last business plan they came out with last month. Between San Francisco and Los Angeles, there's 11 stops. I mean, you figure each stop at 5 minutes. That's an hour right there. You can't possibly get to LA in 2.5 hours.
I think you mentioned they'll get up to a top speed of 60 miles an hour in between those stops if they're lucky.
But the newest plan now stops high-speed rail out in East LA somewhere, out in San Bernardino County, and they're going to take conventional tracks into Los Angeles. Well, that's 60, 70 miles an hour. That's 220 miles an hour.
Right.
What bothers me is every time they say something, they change what's been said before. There's nothing concrete in their plan, and every time experts look at it, they find just horrible flaws.
So on that note, let me ask you a question, because you've been in these organizations and watched government run and helped in any way you could. Is it a problem with our system of government, or is it a problem with the folks in the government? I mean, I'm sure it goes over both, but where do we start? As far as repairment, we're going to vote for Larry Fortune. Well, you know what I'm saying, though? I mean, because I've been around politics enough to know that there's some things I don't like about it, and I try to stay a little bit away from it.
I think disenfranchised was the term that you used.
That was the term I used. But as a social person, as a person with responsibility...
To use high-speed rail for an example, it could possibly be a big economic boon to Fresno. The whole state of California would have to pay $1 billion a year, and if the state of California, we could just con the state of California into paying us $1 billion a year, we'd be a lot better off.
I agree.
But I think it's the parochialism that says we should support this because it'll help our hometown. It may break the state.
Right.
But will help our hometown. I would rather see us working on things that help the entire state and help our hometown at the same time.
Sure.
Okay.
And I think it's that parochialism, it's that self-interest. I think we see it more in Sacramento certainly than we do on a local level, but in Sacramento there's no argument that some assemblymen are pander to their interest groups that put them in office without any reason or rationale. And I think that's what bothers most people about government, is that people make decisions to do things based on what they think is right. And, I mean, what they think is warm and fuzzy and what they think is good for them and their career.
I see.
And I don't have a career in politics. I don't really want one, but I want to...
So for those of us in the public who are one, we can go to the polls, which staggering statistic, Craig and I were told recently, that only, I think, 8% of the folks that are able to vote go to the primary in June. Is that right? 8% of those available to vote?
Well, I've got the numbers for District 2. And District 2 is basically North Fresno, right?
Okay.
There are about 200,000 people living in District 2. There are 96,000 registered voters, and I would think that probably 130,000 are eligible to register.
Okay.
So we got about, let's call it 100,000 registered to vote in District 2. And in this primary, maybe 40,000 will show up. Wow. So from 130 down to 40, that's about 30%.
So you get 30%.
Will vote. But and
I think we were talking congressional districts too. When
that
we
could be. And let's be very frank about this. The
Yeah.
North Fresno District 2 is probably the single most affluent,
Sure.
literate district of the five districts.
As far as volume.
For as volume of numbers of people.
Right, right.
So even we may have the best numbers here, and other districts may not fare as well. But yes, it is abysmal. So many people think that the problem with this primary, of course, is that Democrats know Obama's going to be elected. They don't have to vote for him in the primary.
So
They're going to wait till November.
So they choose not to go to the poll.
And now that Mitt Romney is pretty much the foregone conclusion for the Republicans don't have to go to the poll in June. Now, come November, it'll
but
be
it's
another
important
story.
for your race for them to go to the poll. Yes?
I think so.
Yeah. I meant you've got two folks you're running against.
Yes.
Two or three?
Three folks total.
Okay. So it is very important for positions for our local levels that everybody get to the polls.
Well, most of the people that go to the polls make up their minds earlier. People that go later, wait till later, that don't go so often. I'd like to be the polls populated with all 100,000 voters, and that way they could find out. My thought is, if they took the time to find out the differences between the three candidates, they'd vote for me.
Sure.
So, yes, I'd like a huge turnout.
Do your homework.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to shed a little light on
right.
some of the topics that are extremely important to you. We'd also talked briefly in the last conversation, water. How important is water and the effect of it? Do we have enough time?
It's a hot topic.
Well, water, of course, is gold in the valley. There's no two ways about it. We only get water two ways, and we only lose it two ways. The first major way we get it is Mother Nature, God, brings it over in clouds and dumps it on the Sierras in the winter. The second way we can get it is through canals, bringing Northern California water to Fresno. It's all man-made, and environmentalists are not happy with getting water that way. The only two ways we lose it is that either A, it evaporates. You know, there's only one. There's two, or runs back to the sea. Those are the two things. All these trees that we see out these windows are evaporating more water than you and I are ever thinking about using in our house. Agriculture evaporates more water than any other single kind of use in the valley. But that's what we want to enhance. We want to enhance agriculture. We want to enhance our ability to evaporate water. So the only variable in this thing is either digging a new canal. We're not going to get more snow. We get as much snow as Mother Nature gives us. We can dig more canals for supply, or we can stop water running back to the sea with dams. And therein lies the solution. It's really that simple. I happen to believe that dams, while they're being built, can be described as dirty and unfriendly to the environment. But after 3 or 4 years after a dam's built, vegetation grows back and scars are healed, and Mother Nature takes over, and you're left with a beautiful lake. I don't think anybody in Fresno would claim that Huntington Lake or Edison or Shaver Lake is not an asset to the city, to the county of Fresno.
Right. And it does create jobs.
It creates jobs, and of course then it creates energy too. That's the second thing. It creates probably the cleanest, most efficient man-made energy, electricity ever devised by man is hydroelectric.
Wow.
Starting with water wheels back in the Egyptian times. Of course, they didn't have electricity, but New England water wheels all the way to the modern hydroelectric projects of today. So
there's an answer.
Yeah, there is an answer. It's just do we have the community will to go do it? And it's amazing how many problems we have in life are that simple if you don't allow them to get clouded with delta smelt and kit foxes and things like that.
Right,
I'll probably be pilloried by the environmentalists, but there's got to be a give and take.
Most definitely.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, after the break, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we cover here on our show, we'd love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our offer number, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or just use press 4 keyword KMJ.
Call Valleywide
to get connected to us anytime. Well, after the break, we are going to continue our conversation with Larry Fortune, candidate for Fresno County Supervisor, District 2. We will see you on the other side of the break. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on 105.9, the FM KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there's an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
As we mentioned before the break, we have Larry Fortune, candidate for County of Fresno, Supervisor, District 2. Larry, thanks again for joining us this morning. We got to talk about something, Larry, and that is pension reform.
Pension reform. Pension's the big gorilla in the room, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
1999, the Board of Supervisors were sold a bill of goods. Their pension plan was the pension system in the county was not nearly as good as it was in the city of Fresno. And the city manager, the county administrative officer at the time, came to the Board of Supervisors and said, "Look, the stock market is providing so much income to our pension plan. People don't understand that the Fresno County pension plan has about $4 billion with a B in assets in it, and we expect the stock market to contribute to that plan as much as do the employees and taxpayers of the county of Fresno." And they claimed, rightfully so at the time, that the market was funding the plan, that the plan was overfunded, it didn't need as much money as it would, and that they could stave off raises to county employees if they were to increase the pension plan. So they went ahead and increased the pension plan, and of course, 2 or 3 years later, they went ahead and gave the raises anyway. So we're in a sense we're overpaying our employees or overcompensating with pensions, one or the other. But the fact of the matter is the pension plan is going to drive the county broke. 2 grand juries, one in 2006, one in 2010, have both come to the same conclusion, that the pension plan is unsustainable. And that's a word bantered around by our friends the environmentalists again, and doesn't have much meaning. But what the grand juries were saying was that if you continue on the track you're on, you're going to file bankruptcy.
And unsustainable, that's a bad word.
It's a very simple thing.
Bad word.
The Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University determined that if in the best of times, if the stock market was doing well in the 6 to 7% range a year, that the Fresno County pension plan would be eating up 74% of our disposal of our general fund by the year 2019. That's 7 years. 74% of our general fund. Right now, it eats up about 30% of it.
Wow!
Just the pension plan eats up 30% of the fund. In the worst of times, 0 to 2% increase in the stock market. That by the year 2015, the pension plan would be eating up 124% of our general fund.
Wow.
Well, we can't eat up 124%. And that's
right.
But these are some real numbers by some smart guys, so it's got to be changed. And there's a lot of ways you can change it for new hirees. You can't change it for current hires. The people that have
earned
it.
Right.
They've accepted a job at the county of Fresno. We're given a deal, and they've got to keep that deal. But for new hires, I'll try and go through them as quickly as possible because I can't remember them as fast as I can go through them. We have to limit. Right now, as you well know, retirees can get up to 103, 104, 105% of their salary annually. We have to limit that to 75%, which is about any pension plan in the world will do it. We have to increase the employees' contribution to the pension plan. We have to, instead of right now, the current employees are allowed to pick the last 26 pay periods, the highest 26 pay periods, which is when you're out of their last 3 years of employment. Add those together, and that's what their base pay is. We have to make it a 3-year average of their last 3 years. We have to quit spiking. Spiking is the key word. That's where people quit taking vacation and sick leave, try and save up their sick leave, and their last year of employment, then sell it back to the county for whatever their going rate is that year. They may have accrued it at a much less rate, but they sell it back, and that gives them a huge bunch. I think that's probably about 5 of them. I think of more as time goes by. But all that's going to do is slowly, a generation and a half, reduce the problem. That drastic cuts in the things we just discussed may not get us there all the way there with new hires. I would suggest that there's a more efficient way to do it, and in turn help the county out a whole lot more than just adjusting the pension plan. I would suggest that the county start taking a look at each of its departments that they can do. We can't touch the sheriff's department, the district attorney's office, or the probation. Those guys are all deputies of the state of California. So we're not going to talk about them. But every other department of the county of Fresno should be looked at with the eye that if the private sector could do the same job as the county department's doing for a significantly reduced cost, we can't change for 1 or 2%, but for 15 to 30% savings, then we've got to start looking at the private sector to compete with the county for the services that the county provides. The county a couple years ago tried to privatize the public defender's office. They had a gentleman who bid the contract who is called Chumo and Associates. Richard Chumo has 7 counties that he has under contract. He's experienced. In fact, he takes the overload cases from the county of Fresno. It passed on a 3-2 vote, but our charter says it has to be a supermajority of 4 votes. And they didn't get 4 votes, so it failed. The advantages to this were immediate. In the first year, they estimated a $2 to $3 million operating savings in that one department alone. It would have taken between 40 and 50 people off the pension plan. Now, some of those people would have been older and had enough benefits that they would have just retired, which is fine. Some of them would have been there for 10 or 15 years and didn't have enough for a full retirement. But they would be entitled to those
the partial,
whatever it is. When they got to the age of retirement, they'd be able to collect them. But it would take them off. It would stop them on the plan right there. So there would be those savings, long-term savings. And the final thing is, we talked earlier about applying a business plan to a county department. And for the county to effectively ask for a request for proposals in a bid process, they would have to, in fact, establish measurable goals and objectives for that department, because a private company is going to have to be measured as to whether they're keeping up the contract.
I mean, really.
Yes.
Accountability?
Really? Would be applied to the whole situation. And on top of that, the final thing is, and this is the real thing, for the first time, an entrepreneur, businessman, would be in charge of a county department, and he would be looking at ways to save money and to do things more efficiently and to do things easier, quicker, and faster, which would add up to more savings the next time the contract comes.
Wait, that's not how it's done right now?
No.
Oh, and you know,
it's a list of entitlements that they get bestowed upon them when they are hired, and then they stay until they retire.
Larry said that word earlier, and it always, to me, in so many instances in today's society, comes back to that word, which is entitlement.
Right.
And really, seriously, that is a dirty 4-letter word, because so many folks, they push so hard because they say, I am entitled to that. Where in the world did spending more than what you have become an entitlement? Growing up, and you were always told when you were growing up, it's not a right, it's a privilege to play on that team.
Exactly, but you look at, it's a human nature thing. You look at Greece today, and the riots and civil unrest that they're having in Greece, it's only because the government says we don't have the money anymore. We cannot pay you what you think you're entitled to. And they're rioting. And there you go. It's a really scary concept, but we both know it's part of human nature.
Now, The bylaws that you speak of in regards to, is that what they're called? Charter?
Yeah.
Is that what folks who aren't familiar would be seeing in the news lately in regards to unions and whatnot that's going on?
The Sheriff's Union?
SEIU and different things? I mean, is that the rules of that particular organization, or are we talking about a different organization?
This is for the county of Fresno.
So this is county.
And the three supervisors, Judy Case, Debbie Puchigian, and Phil Larson, who voted for the privatization of the thing, have discussed seriously about having a charter amendment put on the ballot to reduce that majority from 4 to 3
to
accomplish the same thing. I think they're waiting until after this election's over because, I mean, I've told you in private, and I'll tell everybody on the radio right now, if I get elected to the Fresno County Board of Supervisors, I will be the fourth vote.
Yes.
In those cases which warrant it.
Right.
So they could change the charter. It would take a 2/3 vote. I think they're waiting to see who gets elected to their.
Whether that's an extra step that they would have to go through. Okay.
I don't know. You talk about you understand the counties of the state of California. It's 58 counties. Have a little bit unique position as opposed to cities. Cities are corporations. They form themselves because they're in a certain location and the population gets up and they can go out and petition the state and jump through a lot of hoops, but they can form cities. And every once in a while we form a new city. Counties are agents of the state of California. They're a creation of the state of California. The counties are charged with carrying out the state's programs, enforcing the state's laws, prosecuting the state's criminals within the various county districts. So we administer all welfare programs for the state of California through the county.
So that being said, our job is to monitor and to carry out as a county. And you said they cannot file bankruptcy, correct?
No.
The county can't file bankruptcy.
The county
but one of the things you mentioned was that the retirement funds and that particular entity can file bankruptcy and leave all of our county members.
The Fresno County Retirement Association. It can be bankrupted.
So really we have two options. One is make change in order for that not to happen so that our county folks who have already retired and who are going to retire are taken care of.
Exactly.
And that's what you hit on before, because when you had mentioned something, a friend of yours that you've known for many years, and you said,
this is an old Fresno story. I started out in kindergarten at John Muir School. He's now retired.
So he gets his pension because that fund is still available.
Yes.
If that fund is to go bankrupt, no one
The
gets
only thing
a
that
dime.
could change his pension would be in the case that it goes bankrupt. And, of course, everybody says that's not going to happen. I'm certainly not alleging it would happen. I think it can be fixed.
Sure.
But there were a whole lot of employees of General Motors out there that had one of the greatest retirement systems in the private sector that ever and they thought they had it for life.
Right.
And it was taken away.
5 years ago, General Motors bankrupted themselves, and the average retiree at General Motors is now getting 45% of what he thought he was going to get for the rest of his life.
And do something before you become a part of history. I mean, really, truly, when it comes right down to it. There are no guarantees. There's no guarantees in life.
No.
But the one guarantee is that if you do not do something as far as you mentioned, reform just exactly how the pension is structured and who you're going to give benefits and how much and some of the quirks of the system.
Everyone's at risk.
That everyone is at risk. And I think that was the most poignant thing that I took from our initial conversation was it's not going to affect you right now, but what will affect you is that if we don't really plug the hole in the boat, this is going to get
the
worse.
whole thing's going under.
If we don't do anything, the Fresno County retirement system is going to sink.
This is also this is a related question based upon privatization of county entities. How far-reaching do you think that could be? Do you think that because it would seem to me like there's naturally some sort of pushback, just for the simple fact that, and as you mentioned before, folks saying if we do privatize this particular department, I'm going to be out of a job. You had mentioned, hey, there's going to be opportunities. Some people are going to be without jobs.
Let's make this number up and call it fact. Let's say that the public defender's office is 50 people. And I'll bet you that Richard Chumo and Chumo Associates probably doesn't need 50 people.
Right.
They probably can do it on 40 people because they're going to do the same job about 30% cheaper than the county was doing. Yes. But of the remaining 40 people, Richard Chumo is going to go out and have to hire 40 attorneys that have experience in public defending right now. Just as the city garbage truck drivers, 80% of them got hired by the private companies. The private companies bought all the garbage trucks.
Right.
So we're not losing jobs. We're just shifting the job market is all we're doing.
Right.
And that is people start talking about privatization. They think, well, all these poor county employees are going to lose their jobs. No, if they got a little get up and go, I'm sure Richard Chuma would offer them all a job.
Isn't that interesting? If they have a little get up and go. In other words,
if you work,
if you're motivated for crying out loud.
Well, and one of the things, and let me just be frank, one of the things that caused me to be so disenfranchised
like you've ever not been. Thank you.
With politics. And what I was seeing was there are a certain number of private folks out there trying to keep businesses open and working. And, I mean, we in real estate know how all the changes have affected us.
Craig and I.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think we do every day?
Yeah.
So we have these private companies out there, and those are the tax dollars that are going in to fund counties, cities, states, governmental employees. And I think what people forget is if you have more government employees than you have privatized citizens, there's not enough. It's like the funnel's going the wrong way. There's not enough people in private business to support if we have too many people in governmental positions because of pensions and things of that nature. So it's a really fine balance that they've got to create. What's the need on the governmental side versus just expanding departments and adding, we'll just do that ourselves.
Michelle, let me take you back to something you said a little earlier about...
this could be dangerous.
Well, you're worried about government, and why don't people see these things? Why don't people see these things? And you have just taken the global view.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you can see that globally there's a problem. The real problem is that most people don't see the global view. They only see their job.
Right.
They don't care about the other 300 million Americans. They just care about their job and their family,
right,
or their city, and after that they kind of lose focus.
And that goes
you're
back,
you're looking at an entire national economic problem,
and that is a national economic problem, and we see it in every arena when it comes to government versus private. And what I would ask of every person running and every person who's involved with it and knows about it is we need to teach the public, and I'm one of those public members who needs to be taught what can we do on the front line as private citizens to push the focus in that direction. Because you're right, I am worried about my family. You're right, I am worried about making it from day to day with children and et cetera. But if the governmental entities can't manage it and the politicians going in aren't going to, there has to be a cry from the public to say, refocus, guys.
Exactly. Let's take a look at that particular question. We'll roll that out to Larry right after the break. If you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we cover here on our show, we would so love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958 or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com or just press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valleywide
to get connected to us anytime. Well, after the break, we're going to continue this conversation with Larry Fortune, candidate for Fresno County Supervisor, District 2. And we're going to address that question, Michelle, that you just brought up.
You mean that little one?
No, yeah, that little one. Yeah, it's never a little one. Well,
never a little question with me, is it? Sorry.
Well, we'll see you on the other side of the break. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on 105.9, the FM KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valleywide help. Valleywide Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free, 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valleywide Homes to work for you. Valleywide Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952, California Department of Real Estate License 0122-8460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, we're continuing our conversation with Larry Fortune, candidate for Fresno County Supervisor, District 2. I stumble on that for some reason. I don't know why. Well, before the break, Michelle, you asked an important little question.
It was just a little one.
Just a little one.
Yeah.
Ask it again.
What can regular citizens like myself,
just the normal
and
Joe and
yourself,
Jane,
do to help the process and not continue
the entitlement, the selfishness, and
let's be honest. I mean, there's a level of that in everywhere you go. So I understand that there's that out there, but how do you educate people or get them involved to a degree where we instill change? Because I'm not clear on all the history dates and whatnot, but I recall somebody saying, "Let them eat cake." And the government being overthrown. I mean, there are times in history where the people have come out and said, we're not going to stand for this anymore. And I guess we've got some Tea Partiers out there that are, claiming that that's kind of what their goal is, of the same mindset.
Sure.
And you get extremists in every group, so you have all ends of the spectrum, I think, within that organization. But generally speaking, I'm wondering, how do we get people involved, and what would you recommend for those folks who want to do their part about being involved in change?
For me?
Vote for Larry, but outside of that,
let's not be parochial about me. Now, I think in the large scheme of things that you have to take the time to find out who the candidates are, really what they stand for. Call up and ask them questions.
And I'm going to tell you, to that note, sorry to interrupt you. We were actually going, okay, who are all the people Larry's running against? So I go online, and we're having a tough time finding each candidate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how frustrating is that for the public? To not even know who you're running against. Well, of
course, everybody's going to get a sample ballot here.
Correct, but my point being,
we were even looking at the sample ballots, and we still couldn't find.
Yeah. So my point is, though, what are some sources maybe we can send them to? Do you know of a good place for people to go?
That's one of the problems. There really isn't. The candidates only want you to know. They want you to find out only that which they want you to know.
I see.
Is a very simple thing. That's one of the differences between me and a politician. I shoot my mouth off all the time.
Open mouth, insert all.
One of the things I've always said about myself, once you get to know me, let's say I'm on a county commission called LAFCO, and once you get to know me, you can predict how I'm going to vote because I am true to my nature. I will tell you what I think about on a philosophical level, and I'll walk in and do it on a practical level every chance I get. But you're right; it is difficult to find out what the true philosophy and the true background and the true motivation.
Well, as you even mentioned earlier, we were discussing one of your opponents, and you had mentioned. And maybe you don't want me to say this now, but how it seems like every single time you go back into a debate, it seems like his particular stance tends to mirror your particular stance. Very flattering, however frustrating.
I started this campaign, if you will, 40 years ago, developing ideas and thinking about things and discovering things and learning about things and molding the way I would act once I got here. It would have occurred to me that and everything I say is stuff that I've developed over the years that I think is the best way to run a county. And it's just, that's my reasoning and my rationale, whereas my opponent seems to absorb my ideas and decide, he's got a good idea, maybe we should try that out next week. And it doesn't irritate me.
Imitation is the greatest.
Yeah, what bothers me is that when it gets to serving on the Fresno County Board of Supervisors, I don't think that...
Who do you mimic then?
Yeah, who do you mimic then? What do you,
Right. No, I see your point. But I think that goes to the core, and I think... Again, I keep going back to the fact that the Valley is a little bit different. I do believe we are. In marketing, in sales, in getting to know people, we're a different breed of animal here. And I think sincerity comes out, and that's why in our general area people are desiring to work with farmers and people that they've done business with, and the comfort level is there. And when you start working with people or dealing with people that are insincere, those folks who live around here, we start to feel it. We know it. There's a core because of the way we were brought up in this area, I think. You know from the core whether this person... There's an instinct that we have,
sure.
if you will. And so I agree with you. I agree with you.
As we're kind of winding to the end of the show here, Larry, this is a 10,000-foot view question. And you've touched on, obviously, some of those hot topics, some of those topics that some folks are a little skittish about talking about. Yep. Some of them may even be your opponents. In general, what do you think Fresno County needs?
It's got to get its economic house in order to begin with, and then it's got to start working on job creation. And the way the county works on job creation is to get out of the way of those people who create jobs. We talked about parochial, very small, petty reasons for running for office. I do have small, very selfish reasons for wanting to be a Fresno County Board of Supervisors. I have a 29-year-old daughter who's a manager for an accounting firm in Los Angeles, and a 25-year-old son who's just finished his first year of graduate school in Washington, D.C. And if I could get to be a Board of Supervisor, I would like to create an economy in this valley, headquartered in Fresno, that would allow my two children to come home to Fresno and find a good job.
Sure.
That's my selfish reason. But I think that would help everybody. I think, personally, I would actually... we talk about developers as being dirty people. There are business people in this town that deal with people, other customers around the state. I personally would get in a car and go on sales calls with them. Not that I could do anything for them, but it would certainly let the customer know that there's at least one supervisor in this county that is accessible,
and wants
you can talk to
here.
him, and wants a business here.
Certainly. I tell you what, if you'd like to get a hold of Larry, we are going to make sure that you use Press 4 to get a hold of Larry. Use Press 4 keywords, KMJ, call Larry Fortune. Not only are we going to have you contact Larry Fortune directly, but we're also going to send you Larry Fortune's website, fortuneforsupervisor.com. So we're going to push some information utilizing Press 4, Larry. Let us know what kind of response you get.
All right, I certainly will.
If you have any real estate, thank you, by the way, for coming on.
And we didn't talk about, do the people know that I've been in real estate business for 37 years? That's my job.
Merely
By
a side
the way,
note.
have you seen those Fortune and Associates signs around town?
Exactly. Well, I tell you what.
They're cousins.
Call us anytime if you'd like to talk with us, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com. Big thank you to Michelle Pettis-Cavalli. Again, Larry Fortune, thank you so much.
Greg and Michelle, thank you very much.
Big thank you. Also, Johnny B., you make us sound so good. Our goal, remember, is to get you the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you back home. Don't forget to tune in to the Real Estate Radio Network next Sunday at 7 a.m. on 105.9, the FM KMJ. Local news, local talk. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we will see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.